Hello, fellow Mythrunians. If OBS is working, I am streaming, and we are here live for the weekly live stream, where we're going to mess with some more AI stuff if my technology can work. Oh yeah, there we go. Now we have music and stuff too. Yeah. OBS decided it didn't want to connect to my server at the last minute. So today we're going to be continuing with the AI stuff, though I'm deep in the middle of it. Trying to hook everything up, so that should be interesting. So we'll go and get started. Those are the patrons streaming up on the left. They keep the lights on here. Allow me to pay for my Hetzner server and the domains and things. So thanks for that, guys. Hope you are enjoying the content. I actually need to update this list because I think a couple people have dropped off. But without further ado, of course now my nose is itching. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright. So what I've been doing is I've got basic navigation kind of implemented. I keep spinning down a hole of trying to make it perfect, but that doesn't that could be a whole live stream on its own, tweaking the pathfinding. And I have ideas on making it faster and whatnot. But as it stands, so I've been trying to get rid of the old. We had the old setup controller.groovy, which had all this cruft because it's got 3 different prompting a language model or using native RL. What? I'm not sure I understand the question. I'm not talking about LLM AI. I'm talking about, game AI making the NPCs move around in an intelligent way. Yeah, no reinforcement learning. They won't get smarter. So anyway, yeah, I'm trying to get rid of this setup controller and replace it with a setup brain agent that's got the new stuff in it. So I'm one at a time. I'm just getting rid of this stuff, and you still have to manually start the things, and the pathfinding has so we can head over to the anvil and we can say yes, I want to debug so we start step and it'll run some solvers to figure out the path, and we can execute it, which currently treats every little step as a separate walk animation, which why she walks and stops and walks and stops and walks and stops. And again, I've been avoiding dropping down the rabbit hole of fixing that. It also has the side effect that I can see each step, so I'm leaving that for now. It's obviously dumb looking, but she will teleport through the door and make it all the way to the anvil, and so she can navigate around the world. And then so the next thing will be today, hopefully tonight, building in the signals and the strategizers and stuff, so we can tell her to go to sleep and she'll go to bed and do the things she needs to go to bed, and if she wakes up, she gets woken up, she can go investigate, all that kind of stuff we talked about last time. But I can show you, she can head all the way over to the bed. I'm going to increase the solver count here. Start step. And she knows when she fails, and because this isn't the real navigation and pathfinding, she oh, it looks very entertaining. So it's yeah, I mean everything is a finite state machine if you look at it right. Right, so even a behavior tree is a finite state machine if you squint your eyes right. But this is going to be a combination of a bunch of things we went over last week. Anyway, so right now I'm just showing the pathfinding because that's every AI has to do pathfinding, and so one of the things is right now she'll fail to get past this step because this pathfinding is really dumb right now, and she doesn't have any kind of contact avoidance or anything built in, because that's stuff we prototyped elsewhere and I haven't ported it over, and it's actually very important for us to be able to see her get stuck, because then she fails the action And so she'll say, oops, I failed. Yeah, she said, I failed the action. And so, and I actually don't think she'll fix, like, the way she was failing before, if I had her redo the path. Yeah, so it's basically showing the, so if I had her redo the path, she would eventually make it around, but she won't. I think she's like permanently stuck. So we can, she will. She has to do it 2 times. Like this time she'll make it. Yeah. So, so what we're going to work on today is hooking up the brain, which will handle sort of dispatching the signals. And what I want to get to, I don't know if I get to it tonight, but I want to get to the point where I can put her into sleep mode, in which case she's going to want to go to bed. And so she'll navigate home. If we can get to the point where she can lock her doors, that'd be cool. So she can get up to her bed, and then I want to get to the point where we can like make a noise outside or something and have that send a signal that sends her into the investigate behavior or strategy, and then she'll figure out how to get down there and whether she needs to get the keys to unlock her doors and all that other stuff that sort of we talked about before. But really, I've got the guts laying out. You know, sometimes this live stream is more awkward than others because I'm just in the middle of stuff. And you guys are along for the ride. But yeah, currently I'm trying to collapse the that old GOP agent driver. As a cognitive scientist, I'm enchanted by your mission with this. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that it's entertaining. Yeah, there's a lot here. I actually think would be interesting from a cognitive science perspective, especially when you start to get into the town interactions and the relationships between NPCs and how that's all going to work. Anyway, so let me think. I need to combine this temporary like driver with the like update body method here. I think what I want to do is put all this together. Like I have this so because we're doing this in Groovy and it's live reloaded, I'm forced to do some things. So I have this driver delegate class, which is set to when the character is created, this is set. And so I use this because once I can set it up to have these closures that call my local versions. Once I've set this in the object, because that part of the code doesn't get reloaded, the the part that manages the graphics and stuff doesn't get reloaded, then when I create new driver delegates, they don't get reset to that. It only happens when the thing is created. So I create this as kind of a bridge to my live reload stuff, and then I use these closures to live reload it, and I set them, I set the character delegate like this. Actually, you know what? It might work. I think actually it will live reload that now that I think about it, because of the way it's set up. So let me confirm that for a second. First of all, let me just stick a print line in here. And if we see these come streaming by. Yep. Okay, so yeah, I can live reload the driver. So yeah, we'll just simplify all this. Okay, so we will call this new agent driver, and we're going to have to implement scriptable driver so that we can plug ourselves in. We're also going to implement agent, and so be prepared for a lot of I actually need to implement both of these. It's dumb because I haven't ported the steering over to the new system yet, so the steering primitives are still using the old agent that Mythruna uses right now. We're getting really close to being able to just swap this in to the actual game. Okay, so if we're going to have a new agent driver, we probably don't need this body context crap. Maybe we do. So we're constantly looking this up. Because we get past the driver. In fact, I think that I'm not going to make this a scriptable driver. I'm going to change this. Okay, no, this is why. Yeah. All right. So we will continue to use this as an adapter. The thing is, like, it's really convenient for these closures because they have access to the whole global state of this script. Like all these weird things that I just put in, they have access to that. Once you make a class, it has its own private state, as classes should, and so it won't have access to that stuff. But I'm trying to make real-ish code, so I am going to pour all the body context stuff into this at some point. Again, I'm trying not to get too far down in rabbit holes because this is not exactly what we want to be working on, and so I have to like balance between it all needs to be done, but there are some paths that get me quicker to validating the new design. And diving down these rabbit holes doesn't necessarily get me there. But I do find that if I can make the code more maneuverable, then I can work faster. So let me think. Update body does all this stuff. Yes, like a lot of what it's doing is this stuff, which it's still going to have to do. Yeah. We use all that stuff. And yeah, so we're accessing all kinds of global state in here when we set this context up. So probably we're going to have to leave that wiring there. But what we can do is just trying to think. What I'm trying to do is collapse all this stuff. We've got this update body method, which is doing a bunch of things. It's initializing the quote-unquote real driver data, and then it's doing the actual driving of the object based, and it's got some visualization crap in there too. But it's doing the actual tracking and calling the movement modes and steering and all that other garbage. And maybe we'll just leave this for now. And I'll put what I need to put in the thing is we're going to need an actual agent. The brain and the steering are going to want an actual agent, so they're going to want the real things. And so probably we need to add an agent here. And then we'll put all of our agent-y stuff in there, and I can steal a bunch of it from down here. Probably we are going to, let's just take it all for a second. And then figure out what we want to keep. See, there's just so much code in here, and I just can't move. Okay, so We probably do want entity data. We probably do need access to the driver. Do we? Technically, no. We could just grab all the things. Anyway, we'll call it character driver though, because it has a real type. Body context, we should not need. Current agent action, yes. And in fact, I will move this stuff up here. I don't think we need steering sequences. I'm not sure we're really using this. Maybe we are? We are calling agent set steering. Oops, wrong thing. Okay, yeah, see, we're just overriding the steering. We're not setting up a sequence, and if we could, even if we did, we could make a sequence. The steering. I think there already are. Excuse me. Okay, so new agent driver. We want entity data. We want the character driver. We do not need the body context. We are going to be our own steering. Which is interesting. So our current, so let me break things into update actions, long frame time, oops, double step. Okay, we're going to do some stuff there, and then we'll have update steering. Update steering. And so this stuff will go in here. And this is fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Yeah, again, I get wrapped around it. We shouldn't be setting this to idle. We should wait till the next time around. But, and so then, this should have been update steering. And then down here, what we've got an update. I'm going to steal. We're going to put that. We're going to put it in, so update actions frame time step, update steering frame time step. Yeah, if actions equals null, do that. Otherwise, we're starting this guy. We don't need this. Okay, so this will take whatever. There's an action, it'll run the action. Run a frame of the action. Otherwise, it'll run a frame of the steering. We can set the steering. We've got all these override things. We can teleport, which we occasionally need to do. Because, like, I haven't implemented proper step-up animation and proper door open and close actions. So, like, currently I just teleport, which is why she flies up the stairs. Clear sequence we don't need. Add steering we don't need. Let's see if this blows up. Well, it compiled. Always a good sign. Okay, and then we want to also take this stuff. That's the part I forgot, this rig move, this move. This update steering is going to want to know and look back at the old version. Yes, we had an agent movement input, which I think we still do. Yeah, so we ignored the move that was passed to us until the very end. And it's sometimes hard to think and talk out loud what I'm doing. So if we update the steering, we can take this part okay. Yeah, I do. It's only really scary when I do it when I'm the only one here. So somehow we need to combine this stuff with this stuff. And so I think, well, it's like update. So we used to do all this stuff, and then we would call calculate steering, which would do these things. So now I'm trying to figure out how to put it all together. I think it's good that this goes up front. I think that we can call, I think that we can have our own tracking of movement. Oh! So we can have our vec3d last position, vec3d last, or actual velocity, because the rigid body will tell us what it thinks its velocity is, but that's what it's how it's trying to move. But the actual velocity is how much it moved between last frame and this frame, and we track that. And so, okay, we need the body. Rigid body. And we can get that from the driver. This dot body equals driver dot body. And we don't need this anymore. Okay, so actual velocity, blah, blah, blah. Indeed, really interesting. I have no idea what's going on, though. Sorry. If you have specific questions, I will do my best to answer them. But I mean, yeah, I'm just basically trying to, I'm like, this isn't even really the work we want to do. I'm just trying to combine, we had like 4 or 5 different prototypes and stacked on top of each other. Lots of code commented out, and so I'm trying to combine the minimum of the last stuff we needed. Most of my colleagues just use it. Yeah, no. Thing is, like, a good 50 to 60% of my day is my regular daily work day is spent reviewing other people's code. I don't want to spend the last 40% of it reviewing AI code. I can write code pretty fast. And I think we want to do this last, which we already do down here. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. Okay, we'll let that continue to do the okay, we probably want a movement mode. Movement mode is where's my body context? One sort of interesting thing about doing this in a live stream is that oh yeah, so like I haven't created a so for the moment we'll just use the hard-coded class. I haven't I mean by being an all-in-one file I don't have to change files a lot, which is kind of interesting. So who creates the movement mode? Normally it's down here. Okay, so we will let it get passed in. Do you find that doing this on stream helps to motivate you and keeps you... yes, it 100% helps to motivate me. There have been Saturdays or Fridays where I would have wanted to do anything else, but being forced to have something new for the stream or try to wrap things up for the stream, definitely. So I between trying to keep the YouTube algorithm satisfied that I'm going to do this every week, and I just keep you guys up to date, and also the fact that there's a huge motivational boost that all week I'm trying to think of what can I get done before the next live stream. Yeah, definitely, absolutely. There's some weeks where the only reason I worked 25 to 30 hours on Mythruna was because we had the live stream coming up. Now, that being said, the code I write during the live stream is all crap. I almost always spend all day Sunday kind of cleaning up what I did. So no. Yes, in general, my code quality, I like my code quality high. In fact, but the stuff I write in the live stream is awful, and I usually spend all day Sunday cleaning it up. So yes, we'll take this as an argument. Even though eventually, this movement mode will be swappable. Movement mode. So what we got here is the character driver is an artifact of this test environment that we use. It's the thing that's the real code that this physics playground is using to manage us. And so that's what's got our real rigid body in it, the physics rigid body. And what we can plug things into to sort of, so we have some manipulation over the body. It has our entity ID and things like that. This bipedal movement mode is something that's part of the sort of the more recent designs, where I've sort of encapsulated the, this NPC wants to steer left, wants to steer right, wants to move forward, half speed or whatever, and then movement mode is responsible for turning that into physics forces and, based on where they are on the ground and so on and so forth, decides what their animation should be. And so I'm trying to tie this all together in this new agent driver, which will be eventually what we replace the current Mythruna agent driver that's actually in the game with. So that's what I'm trying to... this is partially clearing things up, but it's also super convenient to it gets me more plug ready to move this all back over to Mythruna and use it actually in the game, which gets me excited. So we don't have calculate steering anymore. We already have agent movement input. So normally right here would be where these would have run. And so then after that, we would update the movement mode, which is now just movement mode, and with the actual velocity and agent movement input. Ah, crap. That was like a little agent movement input, which has a move. Ah, okay. Dot move. Frame times step. Yes, and then in frame, and then we. So this is should be like the equivalent code of what was happening before. And so in body context, we knew this new agent driver. We'll call it agent driver. And then we have this guy, which I'm going to steal to come down here. We don't need this anymore. Some of this can be cleaned up, but we'll do that in a second. And so if the context is null, do all of these things, but set the context agent driver new. The human motor cortex works surprisingly similar to how you have it working here, minus the metacognition component. Nice. Okay, so if we do this, driver, context movement mode, and then instead of all of this stuff, we should be able to comment out all of this and replace it with context agent driver update frame time step. That should still compile. Oh boy. Yeah, something's not the same. Because she's drifting. So there's something that is not zeroing her out like it used to. So we're doing something wrong. Or do I call end frame? We're not passing on the contexts for one thing. Contacts. Oh, actually we are. Because that is done in here. So now I've got to figure out where the drift is coming from. This should all be the same. But she's clearly... Yeah, I mean, she settled down, but she got some velocity and nothing ever zeroed it out again, which means something in here is not doing its job. So now to figure out what's missing. Fortunately, I just commented this stuff out. So let me walk through this logic. So the old way, this should all be the same. It's calculating the actual velocity from our last position and our current position. This stuff is substantially different. This stuff is identical. So if we look at what our old calculate steering used to do, and actually, even though I think I also broke this, because we're still going to want calculate steering. I think I need to put this back. And reason being, this way we can override. Oh, we don't have. We're going to need that back over here. This not going to work. Yeah, so like we have this button that lets us take control of the, and this is not going to work right now. Like it's not doing anything. So yeah, it's okay. So we still got to figure out why she's drifting, but I also need to figure out a way to hook that manual control back up, because sometimes that's how I get her out of trouble. All right. Update actions is effectively doing nothing. Update steering, also doing nothing, when it would have been doing something before. The old calculate steering would have always been our old calculate steering, which was down here somewhere, would have always done, yeah, would have always set that. I think we're still doing that. So if the current's, yep, well, this is all pretty much the same. That would have done nothing. This is all the same. Okay, that's not doing anything. So update steering. Let's add a log in here. It's gonna spam the, oh, let's set up logging. We got logging set up. Almost we have logging set up. There we go. So let's spam there's something that's supposed to resist the, could it be a hashing problem? Could be creating new steering objects in Cascade. No, there's no steering at all, and but the bipedal movement mode is supposed to take no steering and resist change. So like if somebody came and bumped me, I don't go sliding forever. I by the nature of standing still, I produce a negative velocity to resist whatever the physics velocities are trying to apply to me when I'm not applying them myself. And that part, because we got no steering, where they're like this is null. Current steering should be null. I mean, I get log to see, but it should not be doing anything. And so for some reason, the movement mode, I'm just verifying that we're sending it good inputs here. Actual velocity 0, except for our actual velocity is not 0. Oh, we get like every other frame. We get like an actual velocity of 0, and then we get a slight velocity. Interesting. Okay, so that's interesting. Movement's still 0. But I don't think that was true before. In the old code, I don't think we would have. Well, so we're seeing potentially a side effect of the movement. That doesn't mean it's causing the movement. Cause and effect can be reversed in this case. Let's log our force. But so this is the physical forces. Let's see what they're doing. Ooh, there's no log in here, I bet. Yep. Always good to type in front of other people. Alright. I didn't need that space there, but that's fine. Alright, so adding force, adding force, adding force. So now are we still drifting? No, so we're not drifting. We're plenty fine. But for a little bit, we were adding tiny amounts of force. Let me reset again, and we'll see what she does. Yeah, so during the drift, she detects the drift. She's not doing anything to, not doing enough to counteract it, where she used to. Okay, so let's for the moment put back the old code. Actually, we say if false, do this, else do this code. Well, that's the other thing, is we weren't clearing our contacts anymore. I cannot believe you're writing this without real-time syntax validation. You're not even using autocomplete. It's this. Some would call it skill, I guess. Some would call it masochism. I don't know, but yeah, I just know the stuff, and it's like, I've talked about this in previous streams. I use an IDE during the day because the code base is, I'm unfamiliar with, you know, half the code base, and it's really easy to have the autocomplete and all that other stuff. But I feel like it's typing through mud, because like I want my keys to go in immediately, so I have like a really fast programmer's editor. Yeah, so she gets this right away. Never masochism and skill, yeah. So like when I'm coding on my own, I like to have the IDE stay out of the way. Sometimes I'll load it up after I do major refactorings or something, but mostly I just use a programmer's editor with syntax highlighting. Yeah, I think you're right. It's like I also tend to shun debuggers for a similar reason. I've seen direct experience of developers not being able to like reason what their code is doing without running it through the debugger. Like, yeah, so either was it Kernighan or Ritchie, one of those two, back in the 90s or something, wrote something about how relying too much on debuggers can yeah, so this is never true. We never can dull the brain, because you get used to looking at the debugger and you no longer have the ability to read code and reason about what your code is doing. And since I've used Java, I don't use debuggers. In C, it was almost necessary if you had a core dump. Yeah. So, but I like to achieve a flow state. And yeah, Yeah, so when we run normally, we never get those weird forces. But it's essentially the same code. Brain optimizes for the easiest path. Yeah. Yep. I think you're right. Okay, so when it does this, we drift. When it does this, we don't drift. And either way, I think we need to clear the contacts. And there might be something using this other last position. So let's see if that fixes it. If so, then I know a thread to pull. Nope, she still drifts, so that's not what it is. Alright. We could just try moving things out. We know right now we're not using this. Let's put it back and confirm that that doesn't change anything. Oops. Message property rig move. Oh yeah. That part I have to leave in. Oh. We do get drift for a second. Does it make sense to verify the hash code of those objects you're passing in the update function? Nah. This update function? There's so many update functions you'd have to be more specific. But interestingly, when I just took out this shouldn't be doing anything. We got some drift back. So nope, it was a figment of my imagination. If false. Well, this is the thing it's passing in is a long and a double. There's no hash code. So it's something in these steps, which we've copied this. And the only thing we didn't do is this here, because I thought it wasn't necessary. Like, setting this early shouldn't matter. These guys are going to modify it, so it really should be done last. But that's the only real difference I can see in what we're doing now. Let's put it back and see if we drift again. Yep, drift a little bit. Is she gonna stop when she gets to flat ground? Nope, she's not. Oh my god, what is it? We could do this differently. And instead of using the context, let's use our ones internal to the agent driver. This is the other thing that's nice about programming in Groovy is that I can access private methods and things. Private fields and stuff. Doesn't restrict me. Okay, so let's see if this drifts. Yes. This drifts. So when we use the agent driver version of actual velocity and last position. We get drift. And so, what have we done different? I bet we initialized those. Yes. Yeah. So I think this is what it is. Before, I was initializing. So what happens is when we start out, I need to set the last position to whatever the current body position is at that, at the time we initialize the driver. Otherwise, we're going to get this huge jolt of force right away, this jolt of velocity, because we are not at 0, 0. And so it's like we jump from 0, 0 to where we are actually supposed to be. That looks like a huge impulse. And so it's because I wasn't initializing it. That's why when we delegate, that's why when we changed, so this is the working code, right, that's using the context actual velocity. And this is the same exact code, but it's using the one that's in my agent driver, and that's when it started failing. And so we should be able to put this back to true, and no more drift. Yep, no more drift. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so I can get rid of this. I'm gonna leave the original code in there just in case. And then we will need a way to override the steering. So we're gonna want. Ooh, did I get rid of that? No, it's right here. And so we will add a steering override. Yeah, calculate steering was just a closure, I believe, that takes yeah, so alright, so private closure steering override. And so if we have a steering override, we'll put this in the steering function. If there's a steering override, then we'll call that with our move vector, frame time is step, and then we'll return. We're overriding the existing. Who sets it to null again, though? I never did figure out how it got cleared again, so could be I get unhappy here. So let's see. Where's the... No, we don't need this anymore for sure. Actually, we don't need any of this stuff. And in here, we want to change this to be context at agent driver dot steering override equals. Yeah, so this is a part of the tool here is that I can set different mob actions. So basically that's these little guys here. I should be able to control them now. Hey, check it out. Whee! Okay, so I can control her again. I can't go through doors because I can't teleport through doors. But I can run up ramps and all the other things. So I can position her for additional stuff. And then escape should get me out of that. Yep. Cool. I don't know if she can actually do steering now. I think I've broken that anyway. Like, I don't think her execute stuff is going to work. Yeah, so the nav stuff's all broken at the moment. I'm going to have to fix that. So let's fix the nav stuff so that it works as well as it did before. I got to figure out how to do that. Navigate, blah, 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 blah. Context AI. And AI used to be the agent. Show agent. Now we want that to be agent driver. And that should work. Alright, so let's see if we can make her navigate. I don't have to hit start AI anymore. In fact, it's not hooked up to anything. Alright, so start, step. Oh, we want to see what we're doing. Step. So what this is doing is it's showing me, like as I step through iterations, I'm doing 600 iterations basically. So if you imagine that I'm going to, in the real version, I'm going to do a certain number of solve iterations per frame. And so 60 frames is a second. And so like this is how many seconds it would take to solve it. So after 1 second, or 2 seconds rather, you know, this is as far out as we've explored. We ought to have to maybe go, yeah, so with 1 more second worth of stuff, we managed to get all the way to the anvil. Now, let me execute and see if it blows up. Nope, it's gonna work, yay! Okay, so it's all hooked up back the way it was. An hour into the stream and we're where I started, but just with neater code. And obviously, again, I'm telling you, she's looked stupid because she's doing individual walk tos for each of these. And so as she approaches it, she stops and goes idle, and stops and goes idle, and stops and goes idle. And I just want to clarify that that is, I know that's not the right way, but it is the way that lets me see every step that she's taking, which is, because I could easily turn these into one walk, you know. Alright, so she made it to the anvil, and so let's just, I like to play, so we'll navigate again. This time we'll go to the bed, start, step, step. It's going to take her quite a bit, so let's move out a little bit. So you can see she's tried a bunch of paths, and this is the farthest she got. And she makes it out a little further as she's trying all the different paths. You know, 600 paths per time. And eventually she'll find her way up the stairs. Almost there. There she goes. All right. And so she'll get stuck again on the steps here. The downside is because she's always stopping and starting, it also takes her a really long time to walk. She's gonna, she almost made it around. Her foot got caught on the, yep, she failed. She says, I failed. So let's try it again. Step, step, step. Should take less time this time. Alright, let's see if she can do it this time. Execute. Oh, she's going to slip around, but not quite in time. Oh, she made it. She waits, like if she hasn't moved in 4 seconds, she gives up. Yeah, she's immediately teleports up the ledge. Yeah. Goes around the corner, immediately teleports up the stairs. Zoom! And she's actually in her bed. Actually, I should have just clicked the center. Alright. Okay, so everything's working at least as well as it was before. Which means I can technically... Yeah, so I like my little playground. It got a little more advanced. What I wanted to do is give her like the front door, which is going to eventually be locked, so she has to get the key to get out, and she's got a back door that's unlocked. And so depending on whether she finds the key, where she hears the sound, that kind of thing, she can take different paths. But alright, so that's cool and all. Let me clean out a bunch of this commented out stuff now. Also, I shouldn't need... I shouldn't need this extra one we added, this last position. I shouldn't need that. She should be fine without it. Yep, she didn't drift off the bed or anything. So we got a nice little bedroom here. She's standing in her bed. One of these times we're going to have to give the these NPCs sit animations and lay down animations, and of course lay down animations leads to death death poses and things, so that when they get killed. Alright, I'm going to clean up, I'm going to stop the tool and start it again to clean up this, and then we'll start working on what our next thing is. Kaboink. So a reminder that this is just a tool that it's actually the tool I use to rig the characters, but we've added this sort of test playground to it that uses some groovy scripts to let us load a playground. There's actually a different one. There's a couple different playgrounds, but alright, so there she is. And yeah, we don't have the start AI anymore because that's built in. Good. And this is, yeah, way closer to being able to drop right into Mythruna. Also good. Now we've got this blank script that we can use to set up the brain. So I'm trying to think how we want to do this. I think we're going to want a rudimentary AI, I mean a UI rather, to trigger some things and to track sort of what strategies she's using. We're going to end up having to stop and start the tool a lot because it occurred to me that the actual brain class is barely fleshed out. And so it's going to need signal support and signal generators and things like that. Yeah, so the idea being that I liked that part of the old brain where you could put triggers in that would query the state of the NPC or the state of the world around the NPC, and based on certain conditions, send signals to the brain that would trigger different behaviors, or in this case, strategizers that would figure out what to do with that information. And so I did like that, and I'll probably bring that back, and that'll also be a convenient way for us to plug in behavior from the script side. But I need to actually build the brain in, and I need to call it think. And even within this, we should be able to manually set some strategies, some strategizers. I wish I could come up with a better name for that, but the thing that comes up with strategies. So let's think about the UI. For right now, I'm going to steal... Where's my nav? There it is. So I liked this setup, was pretty cool. Yeah, we're going to want all of that kind of stuff. So let's say Boolean brain control use brain control equals true. And then so we'll have a brain control dialog extends container, which means we're going to need all of the import comms, silica, lemur, star, while I here. Oops, I hit control end. Component, I know we're going to want that. We might want core. We're going to want the entity system. We are definitely going to want the brain. And just in case, let's import the nav stuff too. Alright, and so then in nav dialog, instead of nav dialog, we want to say brain control dialog. Replace, 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 replace. Alright, and so brain control dialog. I don't think we want the physics space, and so we can, or we do want entity data. It's just convenient to have it. I like to have a constructor. It's a habit of mine, and like, Sonar Cube and stuff will complain about having empty constructors, but like, I like to have a default constructor. It, to me, and visually helps separate my variables from all the crap that's about to follow. And I recognize it's empty and takes no parameters, and Java was already generating one for me, but I still like to create them, so it's just a thing. Brain control setup. We don't need this. We don't need that either. So these again are scriptisms. So here I'm just making sure if the script reloads, and we already had a brain control dialog from the last time we were running in the global bindings, we will remove that and we will clean it up. So I need a cleanup method just to give it a chance to clean up any of its UI garbage that it had before we create the new one, and set the new one as the, that's the new binding, new global binding. And then the initializer, this script loads as soon as the rigor tool loads, but the initializers run when we start the actual physics playground. And so at that point, that's when we have an entity data and we can start setting this stuff. And then we want this here. So if we're using brain control, we'll have a little brain thing here. And this we still want to do. The only thing we should be passing in, we don't need targets or any of that garbage yet. Maybe we will. But yeah, context agent driver. I don't think we want the body. So let's add public void show. We'll just call it agent driver. When you define a type in one script, it's not really available to the other one. So this agent driver, this is a quick and dirty setup for a UI. You'll see. And actually, in this case, I am going to need some stuff anyway. So it was good I had the constructor. So that's the other thing, is like it's there for me when I want it. All right, so we've got the label. Get cleanup that does nothing. We need the show method to do something. Yeah, none of that stuff we need. We do want to set the background color. And if we haven't moved the thing yet, move it. So basically when show is called, we will double down on the background color, because I found the default Lemur style background color for this particular glass style is too transparent. And so then if basically the position on the screen is 0, 0, which means nothing is set, it will center it in the UI. Otherwise we'll let it be wherever we dragged it to, and then we'll tell Lemur to pop that up as a window. So this should, let me just double check that we haven't. I think we're not going to blow up. Oh, color, yeah, we need more imports. So there's another advantage to me knowing all this stuff without relying on the IDE, and that's in these scripts. These scripts are like kind of plugged into a driver harness that I've created, and they would really confuse the IDE on some level. It would not know about half of these things that I'm calling. What is it saying? No such property, playground editor state. Sure. Where did I get it? Oh, we have to import it. Yeah, I think it's tool. Yeah. Why did we not have this playground editor state? Nothing is importing. It would have been, maybe I'm importing it later. Oh, it's right here. I didn't really need these then, did I? Groovy lets me get away with a lot of bad habits, by the way. Should compile now. Yay. We should have a little brain. Yep. So now if I click brain, pops up the navigator. It says navigator, but I didn't add the control driver. So now I can add like the ability to drag it and give it some like actual contents. So we want to do this. Boink, kaboink, kaboink. All right. Uh-oh. That's right. You're going to need event. Kaboink. All right. So now if we click the brain, boink, now we should be able to drag this around. And if we click away and click brain again, it'll put it back in the same place. Okay, cool. Now we can put stuff in it. What do we want to say? We want to say we probably want different modes or triggers. Uh-oh, the Pepsi's all gone. Alright, let me think. What's the first thing we're going to want to do? We're going to want to trigger her to go to sleep. Let's just add a button. Let's just steal this code. Boink, 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 boink. So we have like this. We can make our own little buttons here, which first one will be sleep. And this is not the way to do this, do sleep. But we want to play around with stuff. I could have added, let me set up logging. Some things are harder to type than others. SLF4J is, for whatever reason, difficult to type. Alright, so then we can log here. Log info, do sleep. And because I'm paranoid, I like to verify that everything is set up the way it's supposed to be. So I click the brain, I say sleep. And you see the log that's down here at the bottom. I just pointed with my finger like you guys were going to see that. It says do sleep. Okay, so this is hooked up, and we can add like whatever UIE thing we want there. And now we need a brain. So if we set up the brain agent, we're going to need to set up a brain. And the brain, everybody wants a brain. So brain doesn't take anything right now. And when it runs actions, then it can't do anything with them. That's going to be problematic. So this is the part where we have to do stuff. So we're going to need agent. The brain is going to need to know what thing it's being the agent for. And I have like tests and stuff that are going to want to know as well. So, oh boy, we've got a chicken and egg problem here. So let's not do it this way. Alright, that way things that don't need to know it don't need to know it. Alright, and then so if we want to run the actions, I think the thing that's running them is already initializing them. The agent should be the one that does it anyway. So let's say agent run actions. So then we're going to have to add this method to agent. I try to keep things generic, so like there may be AI thinking entities in the game that are not mobs, they're not NPCs. It could be, for whatever reason, static part of a town or something, or the town itself. So try to keep the names generic. So anything that thinks can have a brain, and anything that can sort of anything that can think then probably has a position and can run actions. And so then abstract agent, it doesn't need it. I just broke all of my unit tests, but that's okay. So agent has run actions, which means the brain can do stuff if it's been initialized. Alright, and that means the strategizers can do stuff. They're going to return a strategy result, and that result is going to apply the thing. We have like a test here of the Pathfinder. We didn't test the... somewhere I did. Yeah, strategizer. Alright, let me think if I have enough to hook things up before I run the tool again. Let's go back to set up brain. Setup brain agent is going to want to create a brain. Which we haven't done yet, right? No new brains anywhere. Alright then. Private brain. This dot brain equals new brain this. It can think now. Oh no, brain initialize this. Okay. And for fun, and let's make that a something that all agents should have. If we can initialize them with the brain, they ought to be able to tell us who their brain is. Just seems logical to me. Oh, it already has get brain. Oh yeah, agent can. Brain, yeah. That's already got that then. Which means we're probably returning null. One thing it turns out is that, yeah, so we'll just get rid of this one. Turns out when I talk while I'm coding, there's a part of my brain that I normally use for coding that I don't get to use for coding. So I do dumb things like that. Since we have 4 concurrent viewers. I appreciate you all spending your Saturday night with me. I think that's really cool. Reminder to like and comment and subscribe and so on while we're in the middle of the stream rather than waiting till the end. If you are along with me on the journey for this long, you're probably interested in the content. Okay, so do sleep then. What we want to do here is we want to tell the brain to navigate to the thing, and we will want to find the thing. Find the bed. So first we want to find the bed. Well, that's going to be part of the strategy, right? If I can't find my bed, and eventually, like, I can worry about an NPC having a specific bed. There is only the one bed, so it doesn't matter. So let me steal the code from the test to give me a little teeny bit of boilerplate. Oh, I've already got a navigate to strategy. Interesting. Oh yeah, I do. Look at that. Interesting. Alright. Maybe we're alright then. Okay. Thing is, we don't have a nav graph. We won't have a nav graph. We will want to give the brain, or not the brain, we want to give our agent a nav function. This thing. And so we can pass it around, thinking and looking at the same time. Doesn't always work for me. Okay, so brain agent a nav function is going to be specific to a particular type of NPC. And some things won't even have a nav function, right? And so then when we set up nav, we created a nav function out here, physics nav function. Just took a physics space, a query shape, and a query filter, and we set that up where did we create that? So these are all our temporary agent actions. I'll figure out where we created this because we're going to want to set it once. We set it in reset nav. What we really want to do is set not there, but on the nav setup. Oh. Don't really have a life cycle I can hook into. What I can do is I can set a, again, this is like the script, one script talking to another script problem. It's not really a code problem. So what we can do is we can create a function, just like this, viz query shape filter. And then here we can just do this. And the reason we do this is because that way this script, which runs a certain point during initialization, we'll put this in the global bindings. I think setup nav runs before setup brain. We can look. Setup brain runs first. But we don't create the actual driver until later. Actually, it's brain agent we're worried about. And so we can have nav function here, and then down here where we create this all, we can see, we're still in the global space here because it's just a closure. We can create that nav function. We're going to need the physics space. Is that what it is? Phys query shape filter. Phys physics space dot class. Space dot class. And we're going to need the query shape, and we're going to need a filter, and the filter I was using is just basically making sure I don't collide with myself, I think. Physics nav function filter this. Yep. Alright, stealing code from one part of the script to another. Okay, so this is basically saying if it's not me, then allow it through. And then we set this query filter that says, yeah, I want everything, static objects, dynamic objects, all the things, as long as they aren't me. And then there's another one like the static filter. I want all static objects. I don't filter those out. So basically, this is when it's doing navigation, it's querying the physics engine. And so we pass filter. Okay. Now I don't want to get too far without having compiled this. So we're going to see what's what. Oh boy. That's in the Java code that I've screwed up. What did I do? I'm going to go back and watch the video and figure out how I always somehow remove this. And it's so common, and I don't know how I do it. So later I'm going to have to go back and watch when I created that. Alright, so agent needs a list. Actually, we'll be more generic than that. Make it collection. Slightly easier to use than an iterable. Alright, continue. Just want to see, nope, things aren't compiling. Set up brain agent is missing imports. Yes, nav. Good times, good times, good times. I don't know why obs moves my audio. Okay, so we still got problems. I'm going to flip over to the other screen for a second because it changes my... I can't see myself in the... There we go. I'm running two computers, so I got like this computer over to the left here that's got my obs screen on it and I can see it, but it always moves the audio mixer so I can't see whether it's still picking up my voice or not. In fact, it's saying it's quite loud. Alright, so can't and blah 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 must be declared sort of run actions. Ah, cool. I think it's execute is what I called it before. Yeah, so we want collection agent action actions. And so this dot actions equals actions, and then actions each action initial as this, and we will set this to break. All right, let's try again. Boom, ba-doom, ba-doom, boom, boom, boom. Alright, start the simulation, see if it crashes. So far, so good. Create the mob. Alright, she's there, she didn't drift. All that's still good. Center. Ah, we get the brain right as the beginning. Nice. Okay, so that's not doing anything yet. That's fine. We were prepared for this. Alright, so now we should have access to the brain. Let's just log the brain just to see Make sure everything is all hooked up. Agent driver get brain. Okay. Brain sleep. Sleep, sleep, sleep. We do have a brain. Okay, cool. Yeah, every time we reload the script, it's going to move this back to the center. That's why. Alright. So, we want to find a bed. So, strategy. We want to find a bed. Navigate to the bed. On failure, try the whole thing again a few times. Okay. And so, what does a strategizer interface look like? I mean, I suppose I could initially just do the one pathfinding. Thing is, like, we never set a maximum number of iterations. I mean, it's okay in this particular test environment. It will eventually run out of things to try because it's a closed system. But in the real world, you know, the world's infinite. So where's the strategizer interface? I'm just curious. There it is. Let's steal this. All right. All right. Just to have it. For now, we'll agent. Let's just look it up directly. Find entity. Let's see. Def bed equals find entity. Object type. Type filter. Is it type filter or type name filter? It is type filter. And we want to find beds. Bed. Bed. Alright. So let's verify that it will find the bed. Wink. Sleep. Oh boy. Plus it's object type info for one thing. Oops. But I also haven't imported the entity system stuff, so I don't have any of those components loaded. Alright, let's try again. Oh, we get to run a lot. At least it's not like loading the whole game. Who on the live stream has not seen Mythruna before? Do you find world gen AI systems or procedural buildings more difficult to plan build? So world gen and procedural buildings are something that I have been thinking about for a very long time. So, like, almost as long as I have been writing code. I started writing code when I was 10 years old. But literally right from the beginning was thinking about how to generate random worlds. And of course I was really dumb about it back then, but I've done, you know, like a lifetime of reading and research on this particular subject. So I don't find that difficult other than, you know, solving the problems, right? So the hard part about procedural stuff is, okay, there's a lot of hard parts. In fact, I'm going to write them down. Okay, so hard part of procedural. So hard parts of procedural generation. where's my things? There it is. Surprise. Right? Like, whatever you come up with. A small tweak. Small tweaks mean big changes sometimes. What else? So, exploring takes a long time to find problems. Lots of wandering around. So like you can write an algorithm that generates a world that looks pretty good in the first 10 seeds you try, and then you wander 1,000 meters off to the right or the west or whatever, and suddenly things are all wonky. You get attached to particular algorithms. That's a tricky one right there. But so even in current Mythruna right now, there are some places where the algorithm is buggy if you wander far enough. And my concern is that that there'll be some seed that generates you right on top of one of these weird cases. So in Mythruna, for example, so from a side view, there's a minimum and a maximum, right? You've got the bedrock down here, water up here, and a maximum build height way up here. When it's generating the world, well, so there's a maximum build height, and then there's like a maximum generation height, so you can build like a little bit taller. So when it's generating mountains and things, there's this thing that reflects it down. If it comes up above this, and it would have drawn a mountain like this, it will instead invert that, right? So it gets rid of this top part, and so what you end up with is like those volcanic craters, which I think are kind of a cool effect. And it does it also if it goes down below the sea floor, you'll get a similar kind of thing, right? So for really deep stuff, you'll get these like cool little they kind of look like topographic lines like this, where you see the bedrock in, and then you'll see like a mountain in the bottom of the ocean, or hill, and that's one of these cases where it dipped down and came back up again. Mostly this is all cool, except for there is a case I've found where so if that's if this is the water, right? There's a case I found where it dipped so far below that it came back up and made a huge continent. And the reason that's a problem is because the fractal that generates the bottom of the ocean is a lot smoother, and there won't be any kind of mountains and stuff, and even if you had mountains, they'd be inverted, so you get like these weird kind of inverted mountains. And so this particular continent, which is not a very large continent as they go, I think you can see all the way from one edge to another, so it must be less than 8 kilometers wide, but it's just super flat and forested, and there's no landmarks to speak of, which is interesting on its own. Like as someone who's generating a world and wants to explore cool stuff, I'm fine with that. I think that's really neat. When I found it, I thought it was cool. But as a game designer, if somebody picks a seed and it drops them in, and this is the first time they've ever played the game, and that drops them into this continent, they're going to get a bad impression of what Mythruna is. So that's the other thing, is every seed is a potential bad impression. So somehow you've got to be confident enough in your generation, or you've publicized that every seed is different enough that if somebody loads a bad seed, they won't immediately think, oh, this game is lame, and delete it. They'll think, well, let me try a different seed, right? Because there's going to be, and that's why I try to give you hints when you generate a world. I try to give you hints about what kind of world it's going to be, and I'm going to provide more lore and things. And I may even set up like specific like startup scenarios you can enable and disable. But if you if you start up a world and it's generating you in the middle of a vast desert or something, or a vast ice sheet, you don't want to play that. You should know that right away and say, never mind, I'm going to generate a different world before you even join. But yeah, so there's the hard parts of procedure drawing. AI to me is an open field. It's like nobody solved this problem, and I find that most difficult to plan. This is my third or fourth architecture because I have some unique problems to Mythruna. It's an infinite world, and I want to have all the towns like evolve as time goes on. So it's a tricky problem, and there could be potentially thousands of towns depending on how far the player has explored. All right. So where were we before we got on that interesting sidetrack? Hopefully that answered the question. That's a very good question. So AI systems, definitely more difficult to plan and build, but only because I've been thinking about procedural generation for such a long time. Other people might have a different take on that. Okay, so it did find the bed. Now we can, whoops, that's not what I want to hear. So now we can go and try to, yeah, no worries. Brain add strategizer. I appreciate the questions. I mean, half the reason to do a live stream is to be able to get questions from people, so I definitely appreciate it. It's one too many. Okay, so we need to pass the agent, which is the agent driver in this case. Let's put those up here. Pass the nav function, agent driver, nav function. And then we need the target condition. I needed to really capture the constructor for this particular navigate to strategy. Okay. Oh, it's actions even. All right. Oh, no, I have little cheat notes down there. Okay, so we've got the nav function. We need a, I'm going to sneeze here in a second. Target test. So given a position, have we arrived there? So let's do target position, target location, bed.center, which should, let's make sure. So target location. And so we will say return pass.location distance target location less than half a meter. That should be good. Oh wait, in my nav thing, I think that was not. I think that didn't work. Like I was failing to get path to places because I couldn't walk close enough to be considered there. Where's my condition? When we start the Pathfinder, we condition is, oh yeah, we did it even smarter than that, because in 2D space, so pass.location, and then we'll call it target loc, just to be so basically we calculate the distance between x and z and y separately, and then we calculate the actual distance between in the 2D space and sort of make sure we're within 1 meter up and down in y, just because it's essentially a 2D function, but 2.5D. All right, and so that's the target test. We've got the done action, which we don't need yet. And then on failure, it's going to be the nav strat. On the nav strat, we're going to have to give it a different strategy. And so we will do the same thing that this one was doing. We'll fail to run. Actually, we could log it. And return null. Alright, so that no doesn't like it. It don't like it. Line 74, column 34. Oh, 2 news. That's funny. Okay. So if we've done this right, if I click the brain and I say sleep, she should try to walk to her bed. No. I mean, assuming we get all of the compile bugs first. Yeah, so this is, let's just save myself some time. And we'll try again. This would be a nice way to end it, actually, if we can get her to go to sleep, or go to her bed. We'll prove that the strategizer's at least hooked up. We could create a little action that makes her say that she's sleepy or whatever too, or she's going to bed. Okay. Create the mob, put it here, open the brain, sleep. Uh-oh. Oh. Nothing's telling the brain to think. So we need to tell the brain to think. Not this brain, the other brain. It's not going to be confusing at all. So yeah, we need to think sim time, and unfortunately I've homogenized out sim time. So on update, probably we want the brain to update first. And unfortunately, we don't have sim time. So we do this, we find this. Excuse me. And I think, let me look for the helper that, so I think if we systems, get time, that's what it is. I think that works. Nope. Always something else to import. Okay, no such property. Sime time. Yeah, sure. Maybe you guys were yelling at me. It's always important when you're making typos to do it in front of a live audience. Alright, let's try again. Sleep. Sleep. Oh boy. Okay, it's doing something. This nav function is null. Oh. Navigate to strat. Okay, so nav function was null because I never set it. This is such a common thing for me. I wire it into the constructor and then never set it. Like, don't add that line. Like, I have it the variable up here, I have it the parameter here, just never set it. It's like the okay, no such property, cog offset. Oh, that would be true. Because it shouldn't be... Somebody's passing the wrong thing to the nav function. Shape entity, yeah, that's what this should be. Query shape. Query shape. We want probe shape. Alright, we're getting closer. Alright, come on, brain. Let's do it. Alright, she's finding her way. One frame at a time. So, that's not going to fly. We're going to have to do... It's going to take her 50 seconds to... or so. Yeah. So essentially, it's running one navigation iteration per frame. And it takes approximately 2,000. We got no progress, that's the problem. And we can stop and see where she is. Yeah, she hasn't wandered very far. Oh yeah, the Pathfinder has no heuristic or anything. Oh, that's a problem. Yeah. So without a heuristic, let me show you. First of all, let's add some things to this navigate strat, because man, that's going to take forever the way it's going. Where to go, 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 there's. Okay, so first of all, we may want to build in a default heuristic into the Pathfinder. But we also want to control how many iterations we do. Iterations per frame. So for right now, we'll do 10 by default. And of course, Groovy Scripts will be able to set it. And then the Pathfinder, if we could set a heuristic function on the Pathfinder, I won't have to build one in, and I can show you why it's taking so long. The heuristic. Yeah. So this will be educational. If heuristic function not equal to null, return heuristic function apply path. Okay, so now we can override it without having to override the method. But let me show you with the navigator. What? Iterations per frame. Iterations per frame. Iterations. The subtle typo sitting in the plain sight. Okay. So let me show you what the pathfinding does with no heuristic. So there's A star, and there's a depth first search. And the only difference between A star and the depth first search is that A star will have a heuristic that helps the paths that are more likely to succeed get explored first. So let me place my human female down, and I'll show you with a simpler problem. First of all, let me go in here, and instead of this heuristic, I'm just going to return 0, right? Actually, we'll just do this. If false, do this, else do this. It's my standard Groovy commenting it out without really commenting it out. Okay, so this is with no heuristic at all. If I want her to navigate to, let's say, just the smithy door. So we'll watch the things, and I'm going to reduce this down to 1 step per frame, and then 60 frames. So it's like we'll see a second worth of 1 step per frame. So did I start? Start and step. Okay, so she's like exploring everything evenly, see? And so it's going to take her forever. Like she's literally going to try every path and hope she happens to get to the door soonest. But like she's wasting time way over here checking all of these things, right? And eventually she will find the door, right? And she found the optimal path. But let me put the heuristic back, and you'll see it tailors her pathfinding based this is just a simple distance function. Like if the path gets closer to where her target is, in this case the door. So let's do the same thing, the smithy door, and we'll turn on the pending, and we'll turn this back down to seconds worth of things. See, she's immediately like heading right over there. Boink, 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 boink. Right? And she found it like in 548 frames. She found it 548 iterations. So, and so sometimes this is not optimal because maybe she has to go, like if she was standing here, for example, it would keep trying to fill, like she would be trying to try all of these paths because they're all better than any of these back, but eventually she'll come around. In fact, let's make it. Let's delete her, create a new one over here. Okay, let's do the same test with the heuristic on. Right, so we go to the smithy door, start step, step, step. So see, she's like trying every little last step. She's throwing in the house. Okay, she can go out the house. So eventually she'll get there. But if this was a big wide space over here, she would literally try every nook and cranny of this alley before she could get out and eventually find the door. She's going to go through the house. And if it was more expensive to go through these doors, she might find her way around the house. Anyway, so that's why the heuristic is important. And we had no heuristic in the other, and navigating to the bed is one of the harder navigations to do in the first place. So we definitely need to give the brain so let's strategizer. This way we can so strategizer. This way we can control, give it a better heuristic. And so we will just return path loc and double d equals target loc distance path location. Return d. Okay, so that should give us. And then we want, okay, we added 10 iterations per frame, so that should help. Okay, so brain, sleep, is it gonna work? No, blow up. Oh boy. Oh, I spelled it wrong. And Stradgers, I've spelled it wrong twice in 2 different ways. It's got to be getting late. Okay, come on, we gotta work. We're already over the end here. We're in overtime. Alright, so playground. Start the simulation. Boink, boink, boink. Doink, doink, doink. Alright, so let's zoom back. Brain. Sleep. Oh, still something not right. No such property heuristic function for class Pathfinder. What did I call it? Did I call it func? Did I screw myself? I did. Good times. Where's my brain? There it is. Good times, good times. How many mistakes can we make in the next 5 minutes? Right about now is usually the point I'm wishing that I had eaten a real lunch today. Somebody made lasagna downstairs. Alright. Ready, set. Okay, it didn't like crash at least. No such property location for class nav. Oh yes. And okay. Let's look it up so we don't it's end, just end. End dot location. At least that didn't crash the whole thing. Alright. Brain. Sleep. So we don't get like a neat graphic showing us how far it's going or anything. Unfortunately. maybe something I want to add. Shouldn't be taking this long. I'm watching the Y values because as soon as it starts exploring the stairs and stuff, it should go at a higher Y value. Yeah, it's trying everything evenly. Okay, so it did eventually finish. Alright, okay, so that's better. Set up brain agent 655. Oh yeah, I know what I did wrong. No, I don't know what I did wrong. Oh yes, I do. When I said this, I said the actions as part of yes. I just needed. Let's do new array list. Okay, and then I want to figure out why. I'm going to make sure it's running our heuristic. How can I confirm that it's running the heuristic? And maybe we will up the iteration count. What I could do is counter equals 0. Counter plus plus if counter %100 equals 0 log info counter. We'll see if it's even running. Alright, brain sleep. It is, I think. Yeah, we see the counter. It's just trying way more paths than it should. Right, I'm not convinced it's... Well, it is using our heuristic. Yes. So... Alright, so I mean, she's doing her thing. There's something wrong. The pathfinding is doing an exhaustive search, essentially, so... Yeah, I need to fix the text to be over her head, because that's annoying. Yep, she goes, jump right up the stairs. I could just center the camera on her, couldn't I? Alright, she made it to bed. Alright, so things are hooked up. There's still something broken. The heuristic's not really being used for whatever reason. Because she should have, like, so normally, like, let me delete her and create a new one. Let me show you how fast that should have worked, right? So this is 10 iterations per frame, 60 frames per second. That's what we basically ran. And so if I make her go to the bed, start, and so 1001. So this is like 1 second. Oh, I got to show the things. So 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds. It should have taken 6 seconds. Or however many, 3,349 frames. Maybe it did. I'll have to go back through the logs. So it could be that the iteration count thing is messed up. Oh, I bet that. I know that's what it is. I'm an idiot. Yeah, that's definitely what it was. So it was basically running 10 times longer than what we just did. So, yeah, okay. And I'll show you why. I'm not going to fix it right now. Suffice to say that I'm just being stupid. Not here. The navigate strat. Yeah. So here, I iterate up to 10 times, but as soon as we get one that says it's still working, I return. So only on the completed one where we... yeah, so anyway, this should not be this way. It should be... if the Pathfinder's not... So, yeah, basically need to fix this loop so that it'll run 10 until we get a true. And if it runs all 10 without getting a true, then it would return it all. So, yeah, so anyway, I'll work out the logic later. But in principle, it's working. And so now I have like the stuff to add more things here and whatnot. And I think that's where I'm going to end it because my voice is getting a little tired. Thank you all for joining. I hope it was entertaining. Oh yeah, my little thing. The thank you. Come on. Do your thing. All right. Yeah, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and so on. If you are working on your own creative projects, I hope you have a super productive week. I have actually this first day of a 3-day weekend, so hopefully I'll have a super productive weekend. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it.